welcome. This is your host, Jules Schroeder. We've got Gerard Adams on the show with us today. Gerard, are you ready to take us down the path less traveled?
Yes, I'm excited. This is awesome.
Awesome. Well, Gerard Adams is one of the co-founders of Elite Daily, the #1 news platform for Generation Y. He's also an experienced angel investor, millennial thought leader, and social entrepreneur who overcame early adversity to become a self-made millionaire by the age of 24. So AKA Gerard is a total badass who we are super fortunate to have on the show with us today. Gerard, fill in the gaps for anything that I left out and give us a little glimpse into your personal life.
I appreciate the awesome introduction. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I never would have thought I would have even been able to become this successful by at the time that I did. It was going back to my childhood. It was always my dream to be able to become successful, to really give back to my family. But it's when I hear people make an introduction and talk about all the kind of the accolades, for me it's like I kind of always remember the challenges and the grit and the fighting adversity and the pushing myself every time I failed to keep going and all of that, and what it truly took to make all that happen over like 13 years since I dropped out of college my first semester.
Yeah, well, Gerard, that's one of the reasons we wanted to have you on the show today on Unconventional Life. We like to peel back the curtain and really get down into the nitty gritty of, how that success came to be. I feel like often people get to glorify the finished product and aren't really in touch with what it was like getting there. So take us back to, what it was like. At which point did you know that you wanted to kind of pursue this more unconventional path? And what was it like making that choice? And then, what happened from there?
Sure. For me, really early on, I started to feel like I didn't want to take like what was the conventional path that even my parents raised me, saying, hey, look, go, you have to get good grades, go to get into college, go to a good school, get a good college degree. And then, that was the path of success, to get a great job. And I always wanted to make my parents proud. So I applied for college. I got into a school called Caldwell College, actually local from where I grew up in New Jersey. My father wanted me to get into Princeton, but I really just never was the smartest kid in high school. Was more of very much of a hustler type mentality, social, knew how to network, an athlete. So I was very competitive, but more of like a team player. My parents raised me with, leadership mentality my whole life. I owe that to my father. He engraved leadership in me at a really young age, and my mom, the work ethic, seeing her work 7 days a week to provide for me and my sisters, really was all the motivation in the world that I needed to want to become successful. And then quickly, once I did get into Caldwell, my first semester, that's when it really hit home for me. That's when I was like, damn, this feels like a really big business. They're telling me what classes to take in order to get to the classes that I want to be able to take, to learn about investing and building businesses. And I just looked at it and I said, this is not for me. And if there's ever a time to take a risk, now's the time to do it. I tried to hold off and fight through it a little bit, but then it literally was like the week before finals where I said to myself, this isn't for me. I'm gonna take a different path and not follow the system. And that's what I did. I dropped out.
Was that your first year that happened?
From there, it was. I'm sorry?
Oh, I said, was that your first year in college, your freshman year?
That was like that was my first semester, in college, and that's when it really hit home for me that like this isn't the path for you. And then I came up with my first idea, and that was when it all began, my entrepreneur journey. And it was I wanted to learn how to become an investor, and I first looked at like the stock market as a way for me to be able to understand companies and how they were formed, and what are the new companies that are coming out that are trying to become the next Apples of the world, the next Facebooks of the world. How can I learn to invest into them? And back then there were different forums online where you can meet other investors and traders, but I saw there was like something missing, where none of the forums actually had any form of like a rating system or credibility for each individual member, so you know who actually was, better at doing research, who was a better investor or trader on the website. So it's like picture going to eBay and buying things or selling things on eBay or Airbnb, but nobody having any type of credibility or like rating system. You kind of just don't know who is who. So I said to myself, why don't I create a stock forum and build an online community where each member has a profile, has a rating system, 1 to 5 stars, color coordinated based on how many times you were ranked, gold being the highest and 5 being the highest. And I just hustled and found a partner that can code, and every night stayed up till 3, 4 in the morning, just like promoting the website, finding out unique ways where I can get people to come and start using the website, and how to use PPC, how to run ads. And I got initial 10,000 members to join, and that was the first time that like I start feeling like, hey, this is working. I'm passionate about this site. I'm building. I have 10,000 people that are actively talking on there, and I was using it as a tool for me to get educated on something that I wanted to learn. It was something that like this was also a solution for me as a young guy looking to learn how to invest, to now learn from the community on their tactics to learn how to invest in it, and luckily that worked.
Yeah.
But it kind of led me to my first failure.
Yeah. And so let's pause you there for just a moment, because I know some of our listeners, you've thrown out such a lot of good stuff. So I imagine, there you are, 18 years old, maybe 19 years old, your first semester of college. You realize, hey, there's something not, right with the system. This isn't working for me. And, I'm going to opt out. And that in and of itself, I know a lot of our listeners are either maybe in college, went through college, wanted to leave. I know myself, I tried to drop out 3 times and ended up getting the degree, which was such a waste of time. And so, before you even made the decision to start this like community, getting your first 10,000, what like had you actually pull the trigger to leave college? Because that in and of itself is like a big decision. 1, to have the thought of, hey, this isn't working, but 2, to go into a world of like, I have no idea what's going to happen next, and then to go anyways. How did that decision? Did you have your parents' support, or like how did you really decide to take the plunge?
The first move I made was definitely talking to my parents, and luckily I had parents that they put the pressure on me. They gave me the confidence. They basically said, "Look, listen, this is your life. You're at the end of the day going to have to figure out if you fail, how to get back into college, how to pay for it. But this is your life." And they basically did give me they did support me in saying, if this is what you truly want to do, go for it, but don't call us crying if you fail. You're going to have to figure out how to do this, and if you need to get back into school, you're going to have to be able to do that and take responsibility. And I think that that gave me the support. It also gave me like enough pressure to say, this is on you. Like, this is your life, Gerard. You got to take this serious, and it's on you to make this work. And I felt confident in that. I felt confident in that I can kind of take my destiny into my own hands. I saw the internet at this time such a huge tool to self-educate myself, and I was passionate about and giving it my all, and understanding that worst case scenario, I could go back. I could go back to get a college education, and I also started researching like other people that were that were actually going and building out these sites and actually starting their own businesses. And once I started researching other people and other entrepreneurs, it gave me a little bit more motivation to want to do it. And it also kind of led me to, hey, how can I find a mentor? How can I find like that initial person that can also mentor me a little bit? Because I think that that helped me a lot early on in my career.
Yeah, definitely. So I imagine, you have the conversation with your parents, you've got this inner drive, knowing that you can do it. Turn to Google, turn to the internet, you're researching, start throwing a bunch of darts, if you will, on seeing what sticks, noticing what's missing, and then creating it, 1, to self-satisfy your interest, but 2, a common collective. And then take us through. You've got your first 10,000 people. We'll catch you back up to speed. Your first 10,000, maybe you found a mentor at this point. Did you have any doubts it was going to work from there? Or had you started seeing enough success that you were like, okay, I think I'm onto something? Like, I know you had just said, you got into your first failure. So what was that like moving through seeing success early on, and then mentally, how did that move into the next phase?
I mean, I definitely have had doubt. I mean, even to this day, I mean, I love creating businesses. I love, love starting things. But, there's always there's always going to be some of that uncertainty, right? Like nothing's guaranteed. You're not going to get no risk, no reward. But I always been the type of person that just, I embrace risk, and I enjoy the challenge of adapting and figuring out solutions and overcoming challenges. So for me, it was, I was I was definitely up for the challenge. There was definitely points of time where I was like, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? But for me, it was just about like putting in the effort, giving it my all. A lot of people get distracted, or they have an idea and they get started and they stick with it for like 3 months, and then they get like they get that uncertainty and then they give up. And for me, it was like, I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm going to push through, and I'm going to get this thing out there, and give it everything I got, and that's what I did, and love. Also find a mentor, and as I was building it, I did find a CEO that had a public company that was doing something super interesting to me, where he was using nanotechnology to reinvent the battery. And he saw how young I was and how I was kind of pioneering using, building an online community and the internet and digital media, to discover companies. And he was at that point in time like, hey, how, the way, as a company who wants to get discovered by an investment community, we're typically doing it in a very traditional means, road shows, and typical PR, editorial. So he looked at me as like, hey, I'll mentor you as to truly what investor relations is from the inside out if you help me become more digital and get my story out there to the online community. And to me, and he became a great mentor to me, and that was an amazing experience.
Yeah, awesome. I love, the concept of mentorship, and I know a lot of our listeners, they hear that a lot, like, hey, find a great mentor. And so sometimes people think that it's like the mentor relationship only goes one way. Like you'll find this awesome person that's doing what you want to be doing, had a level of success, and that they won't be learning from you. And I love what you're pointing out and how it does go both ways, by you being able to provide something for him and him to you. So what would you say to our listeners that, want to get a mentor, that are wanting to pioneer their own path and don't know where to start? What was the key ingredient, if you will, in what made, getting that mentorship work for you?
I mean, to your point, it's important to know that I say this to, like, even I love mentoring myself, and I have interns that work with me, and in Elite Daily, one of my co-founders was my intern before we built that company and sold it, and he became CEO, and he was only 19 at the time. When I mentor, and I tell everybody, whether you're an intern or wherever your position is within a company, we all have something to offer each other. We all have a story. We all have certain skill sets, and there's no reason why we should not collaborate and help each other. And it's not just a one-way street. It is two ways. So I always say that to people that I'm working with. And for me, it's just, if you think that way and you are willing to provide value for people, I think that's, put the desires of others before yourself. People will see that, and they will reciprocate. Especially someone that that you would look at as a mentor. If you're going to show me that you're dedicated and that you're willing to do the work and you're willing to bring value to the table, and you're going to be consistent, and that's like the type of person that I want to be. I would love to mentor, and I would love to be working with me. So I would say that definitely see how can you bring a lot of value to that person, and I always love when people reach out to me and just are consistent and humble and tell their story and are really, really passionate about what they want to do. And if I see someone that like consistently reaches out to me and consistently, show that they are taking it serious, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there. There's a lot of people who think that they want to be an entrepreneur, think they want to start a business, but really truly don't know what it takes or have what it takes. And that's okay. Like sometimes it's okay to start off and work for a startup, and that's a good way to get more mentorship too. Like find a company or find somebody who's doing something similar and put yourself in an environment where you're going to learn from that environment and from people. And that's a great way to get started. So
yeah,
I would suggest that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Pure gold. I know for myself, I started my first 6-figure company at 18 and 7-figure at 22, and having people lead me along the way and just throwing myself into the environment was, hands down one of the most impactful things that I can do. And so pure gold for all you unconventional lifers that are listening out there to this point. So, I know a lot of people know you from Elite Daily, co-founding that. I think you guys sold it for $50 million or something ridiculous along those lines. And so, how did you go about starting that? You were making this trading platform and you're kind of just navigating this industry and figuring out what is it that you like. And, for someone that's listening, how did that even come to fruition? The idea for it and, even to the path of selling it?
So absolutely. The Elite Daily journey was one of the most amazing parts of my entrepreneur career. It was a blessing to be a part of something so special. As it's an entrepreneur's dream to always have an idea and then really see it come to fruition, all the way up into the point of where you have so much value that you can get acquired. And for me, it was unbelievable, especially because it took a while to get to that point, right? So it started that initial forum, built out that community. That led me to finding a mentor and helping and learning about investor relations, which led me to a failure. From that failure, I ended up seeing how the market in 2008 we were going to have that recession. So I shifted gears to creating an organization to make documentaries on the economy during a time where I felt our generation was really just paying attention to the Kardashians or the Jersey Shore or all these reality TV shows. And I loved making documentaries. A lot of them went viral on YouTube. The last one was called College Conspiracy, exposing the student loan debt crisis. And they got millions of views. And it really just continued to spark my passion for content. And during that time, I had an intern that was looking for some inspiration that I had met through a mutual friend, David Arabov, and I told him, come to my office, and I'll mentor you, and we'll figure something out, because he was looking for that, kind of looking to find that passion. And he started working for my office, and he got inspired about with the documentaries, and said, I have this idea. I want to create a publication for millennials, and initially it was going to be focused around business, and it was going to be called Elite Wall Street. And then I was like, no way! Like, Wall Street is so tainted. I just got through shifting gears, making documentaries on the economy. Like, we could do something much bigger. And he agreed. And I was like, look at all these publications that were handed down to our generation. Why don't we create a publication that's really hitting every vertical for millennials, from health to business to dating to humor, to entertainment, culture, so on and so forth. And we were like, yeah, that's something that we're looking for that doesn't exist. Every time we go pulling up to get the news that we were looking for, we had to open up like so many different tabs, and all the millennial sites at that time were very niche based. They were very much college, about college or about sports, like, about hip hop or music, or gossip. But there wasn't something that really was like the Huffington Post of Generation Y. Mm-hmm. And we timed it right. We were passionate about the idea, and we just went to work. Literally within 24 hours, we were like, let's go. And we just, we sat in my conference room initially. It became such a passion of mine. He's going to be distracted. I was like, let's go to my apartment and like really go all in on this. And that's what we did. We went all in. We started working on it at my apartment, then into David's apartment, and just, built Elite Daily. And we started initially figuring out what is the content that we need to create that's really going to engage and trigger like millennials. What is the content that they're looking for? And that's what we really focused on at first. And there was a lot of, challenges and obstacles, and, a lot of, testing that we did. And we we were able to just stick through it. And it went from us, me, David, and another co-founder that David brought on board that was a little bit more tech savvy than us, Jonathan Sanpejo, one of the hardest working individuals I've ever met. He was such an amazing guy. And we were able to really build an amazing team. And I owe it all to them to day in and day out, build the contributor base, get 80 to 100 articles out per day, a tech team that was able to continue to have the site evolve, because any great product is going to always continue to evolve over time. If you're trying to make the perfect plan from the beginning, it's always going to change. A good product's always going to continue to evolve. So I think one of the best decisions we made was to just take action, get the first site up, understand our content, and then continue to add features, continue to make a better site, continue to open up our contributor base, and build a platform where we can get more writers involved. And that was it. Just stuck to it.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of gold in what you're pointing at, and I think, a few big themes here for our listeners that are tuning in is the consistency and the relentlessness of the persistence. It was like day in, day out. If it's like tens of hundreds of articles that are being cranked out a week, it's like being willing to put in the hours to actually follow your passion and make it happen and really just go for it. Often we have this idea that it has to be perfect before we take action. And sometimes just getting in and taking imperfect action is what, puts step one, down the yard line. And so.
Yeah, I mean, I literally just posted on my Instagram a quote today, and I said, a lot of people focus on trying to make extraordinary things, but they really should just try to focus on getting ordinary things done consistently. And if you can just focus on those little things and just moving forward every day, put in the hours, get those tasks done, goal after goal after goal after goal, and continue to move forward, that is how you will build something great. I always tell my team, if you're not making mistakes, you're doing something wrong. I want you to make mistakes because that means you're moving forward. It's when you're not making mistakes and I'm worried because I feel like you're not moving forward, right? So 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those listening that are like, okay, tell us about this money piece, the monetization component. How did you go about starting to monetize Elite Daily, in its early stages up until the point in which you sold it? What was that process like?
So that's that's like the hardest part, because I always tell people, right, follow your passion and create a great product and focus on creating as much value as possible for your customer or user, and the money will always come. If you do that and you do that well, money will always come. But having said that, it's easier said than done, right? It's really, really hard to build a company when you got bills to pay, right? You're building a company, you're scaling, you got to hire people, you got to, market, you got to do all these, do all these things, and it costs money. Right, so it's really difficult, especially for us. I think we really focused on getting brand equity. We really focused on Elite Daily becoming an authority as the number one publication for millennials, by millennials, for millennials. And we did that, and we really focused on the content. We really focused on building the right team. We had to quickly start to understand monetization. We also had to quickly understand how can we raise money and get the right investors involved. And that was really tough. For us, it was about initially partnering up with an investor that actually had experience in monetization. So one person that was a huge mentor for us, advisor for us, was Andy Reese. Andy Reese was, he had an amazing background, and he really helped put the system in place for us to understand programmatic, remnant advertising, and getting on the initial, ad networks so that we could start monetizing that content. And then over time, again, that was helping us pay the bills. But then we understood, like, hey, look, advertising is shifting. We really want to be pioneers we know what our audience, and it's got to go no more native, right? Nobody wants to see banner ads. We're clicking X as fast as possible. We don't want to see ads. So how can we natively, get brands involved with our content and be experts in that field and build almost our own creative agency within Elite Daily? But again, in order for us to do that, even though we knew that that's where it was going, we needed capital to invest into that team. So it became really tough to raise money, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so I know you sold it out, for I think about $50 million, which, definitely a big payout. So all of the time and hours spent figuring it out definitely was worth it. What was it like getting to that point, getting the offer and then exiting?
So, definitely when you're building your company, you have to think strategic and long term. You have to like really see where do you envision this company going, and not just 1 year, 2 year, but 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and how can you strategically position the right, whether it's your clients or partners or investors that are going to help you get to that next level. And that was partly my role on the board, and as initial president. And I basically, really saw how John Steinberg was an individual who I was like, this guy was at BuzzFeed, was a company that we really looked up to as a peer, and has a ton of expertise. Left BuzzFeed. We saw how he was going towards Daily Mail. I'm like, if we can get this guy as an advisor, it would be so valuable to us. So that's what we did. We strategically figured out, how can we get John Steinberg as an advisor? We did that. And by doing that and having the right investors involved, we were able to get John Steinberg to really see from the inside out, like what the value of what we created. And it wasn't long before he said, this Daily Mail is trying to build a U.S. base for millennials, and he saw the value that we had, and he made an offer. I didn't think, to be honest with you, I really didn't think it was going to come as fast as it did. Even though we strategically wanted to position ourselves for that, it came so quickly. So it was actually a really tough position, a really tough decision. Obviously, it's a position every entrepreneur wants to be in. But that's hopefully you get to a place where it's like, you have to know, is it the right time to sell? And you need to be completely aligned with your co-founders and with your investors to make and be as educated as possible to make the best decision for the company. So that was an unbelievable moment and time where everything stopped, and I had to meet with every advisor, all of our investors, with the team, my partners, David, JSP, and we really had to come together and say, is this the right move? And we looked at Daily Mail as a partnership. We said to ourselves, this is a great acquisition for us. This is a great win. It gives support and security to everybody who was day in and day out, in that office grinding for us. But it also gave us now the infrastructure and opportunity for Elite Daily. It is bigger than us, right? To continue to just grow and scale and be something that can always get to the level of what we knew it could become.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you're pointing at for Unconventional Life Tribe. For those of you listening, it's a process of looking at it almost like a strategic chessboard of where do you want to be going, where do you want to be navigating, and to know of like, okay, that guy from BuzzFeed, I don't know how directly it's going to relate to a result, but I know that he needs to be on our team. And so often I think as an entrepreneur, you get these little pings or these little notions of the types of people you want to bring in. And it's not necessarily like a cause and effect. You do one thing and you get this result kind of thing. And I think, with the sale of it, it was like no idea that guy was going to be the one to bring in, get to know the insides and take you kind of through the offer. And so for those listening, I really just want to highlight that part. And then the last bit of knowing when to sell and being in alignment with it. It's one thing to have a passion, fulfill it, grow it, and then another thing to know when that passion is better off in the hands of someone else. And so just as much importance as it is to start something, it takes just as much gut, to actually be willing to let it go and let it continue so that it serves you and everyone that's involved. So awesome stuff. Well, my favorite part of our show is the last bit. This is the rapid fire round. So I've got 6 questions for you that we're going to move through fairly quickly. Are you ready for the rapid fire round, Gerard?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right. Question number 1. What was the biggest thing holding you back from taking your entrepreneurial path?
Biggest thing holding me back from taking my holding me back. I guess finances, not growing up with, I didn't have grow up with a gold spoon, and, I didn't have anything like that. I didn't have money growing up, or have a big nut to start off with. I had very little money, so that that can deter you initially. But you know what? I started with $5,000, and I was able to do it. Through rolling up my sleeves, being determined, being resilient. Looking for surrounding myself with the right people. And making it happen.
Great. What was the best advice you ever received?
The best advice, that's such a hard one because I have my parents as great mentors. If I guess there's two. The number one piece of advice that I got in my life, I think it happened actually after the sale of the company. And that's when I decided I really wanted to do more, to be a leader and millennial thought leader for our generation and really live my passion of mentoring and getting out there. And that was when I got to meet Tony Robbins. And the quote, "Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure." That was probably one of the best, like most impactful lines I've ever heard. And it's something that I carry with me day in and day out in my career right now. If it's not fulfilling, if it's not helping people and impacting people's lives, then I won't do it.
Yeah, great. What is a personal habit that you practice daily or frequently that contributes to your success, either back then or what you're doing now?
What is an attribute that you broke up a second. I'm sorry.
Oh, what is a personal habit that contributes to your success?
Personal habit that contributes to my success. I would say meditation. Taking the time out to be really, really present and understanding my thoughts. I think we get caught up in this life as an entrepreneur, like going as fast as you can. And I think it's really important that you take time for yourself to, really look into where you're at, where have you been, where you want to go. Like really take the time sometimes to be centered and self-aware.
Okay, question number 4. If you could share one internet resource that you could not live without, like a productivity tool or a piece of software, what would it be?
Productivity tool. There's so many, so many that I use. I think one that me and my team use right now is an app called Todoist, and it just keeps everybody really accountable and helps with like project management. So I think, that's something that I use on a daily basis to make sure that I'm, setting out my goals and completing my tasks.
Great. And 2 more questions. What would you want to say to your 20-year-old self today that you wish you knew back then?
I would say to never give up. Just continue to, just follow your intuition, and just never give up. It's regardless, you're gonna hit adversity, you're gonna have challenges, but you just keep getting back up and understand that those are going to be mistakes that you're going to learn from and you're going to grow. And that's the most important thing, just to continue to just keep pushing forward.
Yeah, awesome. And lastly, Gerard, my favorite question, what does living an unconventional life mean to you?
I feel that, living an unconventional life is when you don't get stuck in a system of having to live in a box of what life, people may tell you how to live. I mean, live a life of freedom, live a life of passion, find things that you love to do, give time for that. I always say that there's anything is possible, and go on adventures, fall in love and like really love someone, like be loyal to the people around you. Take the time to thank the people that have done things for you in your life, just travel, learn new things every day. At the end of the day, living a conventional life is don't take life for granted. We only get one of them, we're blessed to have this life, so every single day really, go make it, take advantage of it and live to the fullest.
Yeah, awesome. Gerard.
We live in a life, I feel like, that is so also like we're, we consume, right? Like we care so much about the next Snapchat story, or, consuming the next iPhone, or, what's going to be the next big deal or whatever, but at the end of the day, like really appreciate also like where you are in life. And I think that's important.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Gerard, thank you so much for joining in. I know you're 30 years old today? Is that not, it's not your birthday today, but you're about 30. Is that correct?
Oh man, I just turned 31.
Just turned 31. So definitely lived a pretty full life so far in your 31 years, and love to hearing your story. So if our listeners want to follow the work you're doing, I know you've got some other awesome stuff. You were, just in Newark building this amazing workspace, giving back to community. You've got so many great things that you're doing and inspiring for millennials. How can our listeners find you and keep in touch with some of the projects you've got going on?
Julia, you broke up a lot. I'm assuming that you were asking about some of the upcoming projects.
Yeah,
is that what it was?
Upcoming projects and how they can find you. I'll ask it once more. I'm going to cut a lot of the audio, so I'll just ask the question again. All right. So, Gerard, thank you so much for being with us today. 31 years old, which is awesome. I know a lot of our listeners will want to keep in touch with you and hear about some of these amazing projects you've got going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel free. Email me if anyone. Sure. Yeah. Email me at ga@gerardadams.com. My Twitter is I am Gerard Adams. My Instagram is Gerard Adams. Snapchat, I have a lot going on daily, which is my Snapchat's Hello Gerard. And I'm going to be launching a YouTube series, a vlog on YouTube under Gerard Adams. So I'm really excited about that. That's going to be coming later this month. So, please subscribe and definitely hit me up. I love connecting.
Awesome. Gerard, thank you so much for being on our show today. Thank you, Unconventional Life Tribe, for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.